You've probably heard of the Obama administration's case against Hobby Lobby. The national chain filed a suit after being told they would be fined $1.3 million per day if they didn't pay for abortions through their insurance. And then that brings us to here comes the second front. I told you there's three. The second on the silent war. The assault on our freedom of association as people of faith to form organizations where we work alongside others who share our views. That brings us to the Hosanna Tabor case. You may have heard of this one. And it revolved around a Lutheran academy in Michigan and their right to fire a teacher. Now that same argument that happened there is the same argument that's being advanced against the Catholic hospitals, adoption service providers, and other Catholic organizations or religious-based organizations that have deeply held worldview. And all they simply want is for their members and employees to share that worldview. The onslaught of lawsuits based in anti-discrimination law will inevitably lead to conflicts which damage our society. But those cases are only the beginning. There is a bigger threat, and that one brings me to the third front on the silent war, and that is the assault on your freedom of expression in all areas of life. Consider these many cases you hear in the news from bakers and photographers, caterers, and other wedding consultants who have religious belief, and those beliefs prevent them from taking part in the same-sex ceremony. The New Mexico Supreme Court, if you remember this, they ruled back in August of 2014 that one small business, Elaine Photography, had violated the Human Rights Act by declining to photograph a same-sex commitment ceremony. And in this judge's opinion, he said that these Christian photographers were being fined and that they were compelled by law to compromise the very religious beliefs that inspired their lives, because that was, in his words, the price of citizenship. This assault will only spread in the immediate future. That was just last year. We will see continued pressure brought on by anyone who refuses and refers to be penalized for their views, denied membership in the professional groups, or even rejected from licenses. But that pressure is not going to stop with photographers and bakers. It's going to be brought on into your churches, into your mosques, and into your synagogues as well. This war on religious liberty and on your freedom to exercise your religion, on your freedom to associate, your freedom of expression is only going to continue, and it's going to continue because of an idea of a wrong-headed concept through which some people believe that religious freedom means you have the freedom to worship and that's it. In this misbegotten and, quite frankly, un-American conception of religious liberty, your rights begin and end in that pew. For my fellow Christians, for those of us who believe in the Great Commission, we think this is quite silly. So the opposition is suggesting that our right to worship and our right to evangelize and our right to freely practice our faith are all the same thing. But they're not. And that's not what the First Amendment clearly protects: the freedom to practice our faith and practice our conscience, even if those activities don't happen to occur inside the four walls of a church building. We have the right to practice our faith and to protect our conscience no matter where we happen to be. And that's not just for my fellow evangelical Christian believers. That's for all religions under the sun. The S-U-N, Son of God. Did y'all get that? I believe that the answer begins with the states. I believe that governors and state legislators across the country must embark on a nationwide effort on the state level to protect the rights and believers of all faiths. I do not believe that people should be punished, that businesses should be punished, that organizations should be punished for how they treat marital arrangements outside the teachings of their faith. I told you that I lived in Israel, in the Middle East, for over a year. I was there during the Pillar of Defense war that stayed on the news, that dominated the news. And I know that this is an enormous time of upheaval in the Middle East, where your beliefs can lead to your church being burned, your synagogue being burned, your mosque being destroyed, your children being kidnapped, or it could put you quite simply on the wrong side of a gun. So here in America, we should be quite grateful that the laws and principles put in place by our founders, by men like George Mason, like James Madison, like Mr. Patrick Henry, who understood the importance of religious liberty. We should be grateful that those principles have endured for so long. They are the reason why America has come so far, and it is those same principles that guide us and should guide us farther still. These principles understand that power is derived from the people and not from the government. I'm closing. Can sense somebody behind me. Calvin Coolidge, President Coolidge said this in his own time: "We live in an age of science and abounding accumulation of material things." He said, "These did not create our declaration. Our declaration created them. The things of the Spirit come first. Unless we cling to that, all our material prosperity, overwhelming though it may be, or though it may appear, will turn into a barren scepter in our grasp." Now, President Coolidge was right, and I will close with this sentence: the things of the Spirit do come first. We must act now to protect them. Our religious freedom was won over the course of centuries of persecution and blood, and we should not surrender them without a fight. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor-elect Tim Britt. Thank you for letting me be part of this event today, celebrating religious liberty. You know, one of our founding fathers, John Adams, once said, "Nothing is more dreaded than the national government meddling with religion." Even back then, in the founding of our country, religious liberty was a very important issue. In fact, many of the people who settled what we know as the United States today came to this country in search of religious liberty. Our country was founded on the idea that men and women should be able to practice their faith as they see fit, consistent with their conscience. That's why you are gathered here today, and that's why I'm here. A lot of times we think of religious liberty being under threat overseas, countries like Iraq, maybe. I served in Mosul, Iraq, the 101st Airborne Division. And in Mosul, there's been a lot of persecution of Christians. But the fight for religious liberty is not just in countries like Iraq. It's all over the world, in every country, every day. Even here in the United States, we must maintain our vigilance. We got to keep a close eye on court decisions, state courts, federal courts. We have to keep a close eye on the United States Congress, the President, as well as state legislatures, because they may take actions that we think threaten the way we practice our faith. So I just wanted to say, stay vigilant. Thank you for raising awareness. Thank you for holding this today. And thank you for emphasizing the importance of religious liberty and the ability of all Americans to worship God as they see fit.